Well, welcome to Satsang. It's so beautiful to be together, and especially during these sacred days of Navratri, and sitting here with our Mother Goddess, who they've redressed so beautifully for Navratri. She always looks gorgeous, but she looks especially gorgeous tonight. We'll start as usual with a question that's come in advance from our family from all over the world, and then open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. Wishing others well is a common practice among many of us, such as, I'm wishing you good luck, or I'm wishing you good health. Are these kinds of wishes meaningless because our words cannot change someone else's destiny? So, yes, our words cannot change someone else's karmic package, but the power of our intention, if the words are empty, they're meaningless. But if the words are deep and they actually come from a place of powerful intention, you're really wishing that person well, it actually has a huge energetic impact. There's lots of research. Those of you who have been coming to or watching satsang for a while, or who know me, know that I'm a scientist at heart, and I love where science and spirituality overlap. And of course, in spirituality, we talk about the power of blessings. Right? Like you get your parents' blessings, you take blessings from the elders. Even if we leave gurus aside, because of course we know gurus have the power. But if we just say blessings from ordinary people, parents, elders, teachers, well, spiritually, we know they're powerful. It's why we're told to take blessings from our parents, from our teachers, from our elders. But science now has actually been doing some really fantastic and fascinating research on the power of intention, the power of thought. And what we now know is that my thoughts have the power to change not only what happens in my own body, that's a given, but they actually have the power to change things like the rate at which, the speed at which a plant grows in a laboratory across the country. It has the power to change the rate at which immune system cells divide in a petri dish being held by someone else in another country. Right? Now, the science began by, okay, if you yell at a plant, we know that it doesn't grow, it doesn't grow as well. We did these experiments when I was growing up. You'd plant different seeds, and one plant you'd sing to in love, and another one you would ignore, and another one you'd yell at. They were science fair type of projects. But now the research has come that you don't even have to be in the present. So it's not the volume of your voice. It's not the actual energy emanating from your body 2 feet away. But it's the power of your intention. They've even miraculously done it over non-living objects. There's a thing called a random number generator that just randomly gives out either zeros or ones. And over a period of 100 or 1,000, you always get half and half. Because it's random. The power of thought, if they've got people powerfully intending either a 0 or a 1, it can actually move the percentage of zeros or ones that random number generator spits out. Yeah, wow. So this type of research really excites me because spiritually we know the power of thought. Spiritually in our scriptures we speak so frequently about the idea of what in Hindi is Jaise drishti vaise shishti. And it means as is the vision, so is the creation. As is my thought, so is the creation. But now science is right there backing it up. So if you really wish someone well, not in just a shallow way, but you actually are connecting deeply. Because it's not just if I randomly in my brain that's going 1,000,000 miles an hour and is in 1,000,000 places think about zeros or ones. That's not going to have an impact. In the research, the people have to first enter what we would call a meditative experience. They have to deeply connect with that power within, with that sense within that we are not separate. So they do these very basic centering, grounding, breathing exercises just to get people grounded and anchored. So if you are prepared to really drop deep, anchor yourself, still yourself, and spend a few minutes really intending something for someone else, it actually has an impact. Power of prayer. There's lots of research. Makes no sense to scientists. How does it work? But it works. We know that people who are being prayed for do better. There's a power in that. There's a power in intention. And especially the more people who are intending together in alignment with each other makes it even stronger. So, yeah, keep wishing each other well, because the other beautiful benefit of it, actually, is that not only does it benefit the person you're praying for, but the people who do this, so the subjects or participants of the scientific studies, themselves during the course of this intention experiment, they became more peaceful, more joyful, healthier. The actual act of praying for another, intending another to do well, benefits us. It's like the Buddhist meditation practice of loving kindness. May he or she be healthy, be safe, be peaceful. Not only does that benefit the one I'm praying for, but a practice of loving kindness to others benefits me. So do not stop wishing each other well. It's definitely not empty. It's very full. The only thing that matters is you've got to be sincere about it, which of course is the teaching for pretty much anything that matters in life. If you're going to do it half-heartedly, You're going to do it not really. Don't bother. Who are you kidding? What are you achieving? But if you do it really, deeply, sincerely, that impact is profound on you and also on the world. We're much more powerful than we realize, especially our minds, our thoughts, our prayers, our intentions, much more powerful. We waste them waiting for people to like something we posted on Facebook, right? I mean, how much of that power is like, oh, I hope people have liked it. I hope people comment. But if we actually took that power of intention and prayer beyond our social media feed, beyond who is going to call us, into really, really wishing each other well on every level, wishing our world well on every level, we would heal individually and we'd heal collectively. Questions?
Thank you again to be present here in this moment. My question is, if I have this state of meditation, then it will vibrate for every part of the world and touch the people in the heart. That's.
I'm so sorry, I didn't, when you're in a state of meditation, I got the first part. What was the second part?
If I connect with this state of meditation, then I vibrate this energy for the whole world and for every person that I intention.
Yes, exactly. If you connect deeply in meditation, then you access that power for yourself and for others. Meditation is that connects us to the truth of who we are. A lot of times people think meditation takes us someplace else. People want to see lights, they want to see shapes, they want to see things. I have people sometimes say, you know, I don't see anything in my meditation, shapes or colors or lights. That's not the purpose of meditation. There's no hierarchy level where you can say, oh, you saw, a blue hexagon. You're at level 8 of meditation. But that's what people are sort of expecting, is that when I meditate, first I'll see these shapes and that, and then this will happen. And as though meditation were like one of those multi-leveled video games where, level 1, you have to make it through this area, then level 2, you fight the tigers. When you win against the tigers, you get to level 3, you fight the elephants. That meditation's not like that. Meditation is that which is connecting us to ourselves. So sure, some people at different times see different things. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you've got an error in your meditation. But if you don't see it, that's also fine. I mean, there's no subjective sense or objective sense of anything being better or worse. The point is to be connected to the true self. And that true self is one with the divine, one with each other, which means that power. That power is within us. And we are connected. So for example, let's say that my arm itches and I scratch it. So there's a discomfort in my arm. I do something about it. Now my arm feels better. End of story. Now that seems easy because this is my body. I felt the itch. I scratched the itch. Therefore, I feel better. But if in my meditation I'm able to deeply connect with you, and there's a pain you are going through, I'm not saying I could scratch an itch on your arm, but there's something you're going through. Well, in my power of intention, my power of prayer, I can actually have a ripple impact on what's happening in your body. Not because I'm magic, but because we're actually not separate. And even though in the experiment, yes, the person who's intending is sitting in one country and the person holding a petri dish is in another country, well, those are just these illusions of time and space, right? I mean, this is another place where science is telling us what spirituality tells us. Look at quantum physics. It's telling us the same thing that our sages and saints and rishis have been telling us for thousands of years. There's no place you are not. There isn't a border, a boundary of space, of time. It's why our gurus, our saints, are able to see the past and the future, right? I mean, people think it's this magic power. Everybody comes up and shoves their hand in Pujya Swamiji's face and is like, do you read palms? Do you read palms? And I always laugh because while being able to read different things is a beautiful ability, when you've got an enlightened master, they don't need to look at lines on your palm to know who you are and where you've been and where you're going. It's all apparent to them. Because there is no border and boundary of time or of space. It's all right now. It's all right here. In the same way that I can see this glass of water in front of me here and now, because I have access to this intersection of time and space, they have access to a much vaster planes of time and space. So yes, the deeper your meditation, the more powerful your intention for yourself or others will be, because the more connected you will be to that source of power. It's not you as your individual self having the power to do that. It's when you tap into that one consciousness. If I think it's my power, it fizzles pretty quickly. When I realize it's the divine, but I'm not separate from the divine, and if I just can get myself, my ego self, out of the way, then there's nothing but the divine. The hindrance is the mind. That's why the meditation is so important. Because the meditation is what takes us to that place that's free of the mind. As long as I'm in my ego mind, I'm not going to be much good to anyone. I could make you a cup of tea. I could make you a cup of coffee. I could make you a sandwich. But that's kind of the beginning and the end of how useful I'm going to be able to be to you in my ego mind. In order to be deeply helpful to anyone. I've got to get out of my ego mind, and I've got to get into a place of recognizing it's all God's grace. And God flows through me. And if I can just get that ego mind out of the way, then I'm simply a vehicle, a channel for God's grace. I become an instrument in the hands of the divine. Beautiful. Any other questions? Yes.
And how can we achieve this state of meditation?
So meditation is a practice. What's important to realize is you're going back to your true self. A lot of people have this complex around meditation. I'm not doing it right, nothing's happening. I think about it like, imagine that at the end of a stressful day, or any day rather, but let's call it a stressful day, you come home and you want to take a bath. You're tired, you're sore, you're stressed out. And you turn on a bath and you fill it with beautiful water and you put in some essential oils and some rose petals, and you make this beautiful bath. But you get into that bath with all of your clothes on. How's it going to feel? Right, exactly. She scrunched up her nose like, ugh. Of course it's not going to feel good. Sopping wet, heavy clothes take that sense of away. In order to have that sense of you got to be naked. It's a prerequisite. In order to really, really enjoy that bath, you've got to leave all your clothes on the floor or in your room or hanging up, depending on how neat you happen to be, but they can no longer be on your body. In the same way in meditation, it's really about a removal of that which is on us. The clothes are on the body, but on our awareness, on our consciousness is usually ego stuff. My grudges, my pains, my fears, my worries, my competitions, my jealousies, my expectations. And so when I go to sit to meditate, you may have this beautiful environment, like your beautiful bathtub. But if I sit down and I'm full of stories, desires, expectations, fears, judgments, it's going to be like wearing high-heeled shoes and a suit and tie and a hat in a bathtub. You're not going to get anything that you're looking for. And so that's where, prior to going into meditation, a lot of us have practices that get us into a more meditative state. So if you look, for example, at the 8 limbs of yoga that the sage Patanjali gave. Now, of course, they can happen at the same time as well. They don't have to go sequentially, but they work really nicely sequentially because they begin with how you are in the world. If I'm lying and cheating and stealing and harming and committing all sorts of adultery and living this life that I feel ashamed of and is full of deceit, well, it's going to be very hard to embark on a yogic practice with that as my foundation. first I've got to just at least have the bare minimum of what you would consider a dharmic life, a yogic life. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to tell lies. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to harm. I'm going to have integrity. Right? And then you move into asana, which is a use of the physical body, because of course our physical body is the medium through which we experience enlightenment, awakening. Our brains, which are part of our physical body, are the medium through which we experience consciousness and truth. If you're brain dead or brain damaged, you're not going to be able to have those experiences. So our physical body is the medium. We're not the body, but we need the body to experience that state. If the chemicals in my body are all haywire, my brain is not going to be able to calm down. If I've had 30 cups of coffee this morning, or I'm drunk, or I'm on drugs, or I'm all riled up because somebody posted something obnoxious about me on Twitter, I'm not going to be able to still my mind. I'm going to become a slave of the mind rather than the one in charge. So asana is a practice of using the physical body to find balance, to find stability, to find strength. Also on just a basic level, it's what enables us ultimately to sit for long enough to actually meditate. But then it gets interesting. Then we go into pranayama. And for me, on a personal level, that's where my meditative practice starts. I have an asana practice as well, I just don't do it at the same time. So my meditative practice begins with pranayama. It quiets the mind in a very, very, very powerful way. It fills you with an experience of not being separate from the world. I'm taking in breath from outside, I'm letting it go back, and suddenly, if you're really quiet, still you discover there's actually no inner and there's no outer. You begin doing pranayama and it's all about the inhalation and the exhalation. I'm inhaling in, I'm exhaling out, from inside to outside, from outside to inside. But if you allow yourself to get really meditative and really still, you discover there is no inner, there is no outer. There's just breathing. So I begin with pranayama. And then staying with the 8 limbs of yoga, we come to pratyahara, which is a withdrawal of the senses from the outer world to the inner world, which is just a very conscious redirection of my attention. I'm no longer going to be focused on the sounds outside. I'm now focused on the world inside. And of course the mind goes back out and you just bring it back in. And then dharan, which is a sense of single-pointed focus. And you can use a mantra, you can use a candle flame, you can use a word, a name of God, you can use an image. But you see how we're going more and more inward, more and more still, more and more connected. And then once my senses are withdrawn, once I've got that single-pointed focus, then you get into meditation. And then ultimately, eventually that meditation leads into samadhi, which is that ultimate oneness. So in terms of how to do it, I would recommend not just out of the blue sitting down, plopping yourself down and saying, all right, I've got 11 minutes, let's go. And sort of expecting that you're gonna get there before the alarm goes off and you've got to do the next item on your to-do list. But really give yourself a little bit of time to make the inner environment as conducive to meditation as possible. You know, it would be like jumping off the treadmill into bed. Okay, I got 8 hours, starting now, let's go. Well, you wouldn't fall asleep for a long time. If you've been running on the treadmill and you're talking on the phone at the same time, no matter what time of day it is, it's going to take you a long time to fall asleep. That's why sleep specialists always say, you know, start to quiet down. Lower the lights. Put away your device. Like there's all this sleep health. Well, there's meditative health as well. Before you meditate, create a conducive environment. Do some pranayama. Consciously withdraw your senses. We're now going inward. Have something that you focus on. Chanting a mantra. Watching the breath. The breath is perfect. When I teach meditation, that's what we do. We follow the breath. We chant a mantra. And eventually, what happens is, the breath seems to sort of stop. It doesn't, but you're no longer watching the breath because it's not seeming to do anything anymore. The mantra seems to start chanting itself, and you find yourself in a very beautiful state of meditation, which for different people is a totally different experience. So again, there's no right, there's no wrong. There's deep spaciousness, expansive spaciousness, there's stillness, there's peace, there's joy, there's awareness, full consciousness of all. It's a lot of different experiences that come in that meditative time. But it helps if you prepare yourself for it. And then you go in. And you begin by watching the breath. Were you with us last night when we did an extended meditation? No, okay. Maybe tomorrow we'll do another one. I want to make sure to conclude soon enough that you all have time to have dinner before going to the banks of Ganga, but tomorrow we'll meditate together again. But when you meditate on your own, just begin with your pranayama. Bring in the senses. Find something divine to focus on, and then go into your meditation. But remember, of course, that the way that you live your life has to be in alignment with that. That you're not going to be able to get to those stages if we're not living yama niyam. You can't start building a house on the 4th floor, or the 3rd floor if you start with asana. You got to start at the base. And then, of course, the mind wanders and you bring it back. And it wanders and you bring it back. And it wanders and you bring it back. And slowly, slowly it wanders a little bit less. But the key point is that it's about the self. It's about going in. And whatever technique you use, it's just a vehicle. It's just a vehicle to take you in. There's one of my favorite stories of the 3 guys who were stranded on an island, and they pray and pray that they should be rescued. And one day they wake up and there's a canoe on the edge of the island. And they're so excited, they jump in the canoe and they row it back to the mainland. And a couple of weeks later, somebody sees them walking through the marketplace and they've got the canoe on their heads. Walking in a single file line, carrying the canoe on their heads. And the person says, "Why are you carrying a canoe on your head through the marketplace?" And they say, "Oh, this canoe, it saved our lives. We were stranded on an island." And the person says, "Well, that's great, but why are you carrying it through the market?" And they say, "Oh, this canoe, it saved our lives. We were stranded." Well, the canoe was a vehicle. It was a life-saving vehicle. Glory to the canoe. But once they reach the mainland, the canoe actually becomes a hindrance rather than a help. Because now their arms are in a canoe, not able to do much. Now is the time to let go of the canoe, to just be where they have arrived. And the truth is, it didn't have to be a canoe. They would have been equally happy for a rowboat or jet skis or a raft. Doesn't matter. They just needed a vehicle to get across the water. And I love that story because our meditation techniques sometimes become like that. We become so attached to the technique that it actually ends up making us more stuck than free. So whatever technique works for you, use it. There's no wrong way to meditate, I always say, other than hitting the snooze button. That's the only wrong way to meditate, is your alarm goes off and you hit snooze. You go back to sleep. That's the wrong way to meditate. Other than that, whatever technique you use that works for you, use it. But then as you start to have those meditative experiences, you don't want to come back, oh, I forgot to be watching my breath. Like here I am in this beautiful expanded spaciousness, but suddenly I'm no longer watching my breath. Well, that's all right. That's all right. That was a technique. It got you here. So then you just allow yourself to be in that state of meditation. And of course, when you lose it, as inevitably you will, a thought will come, a sound will come, then you begin again with watching the breath. And then again you reach that state. And then you're there. And then you lose it. And then again you're watching the breath. And it goes like that. Beautiful. Have a beautiful dinner. A beautiful rest of your evenings. We'll take you down as soon as you're done with dinner to the beautiful Ram Leela program. And to our family joining us from all over the world, have a beautiful morning and a beautiful day.